Yo, what's up? It's your boy Turidity, and today I'm actually coming at you guys with a video in reference to something that a person commented on my last video about creating the template. So what I realized is I didn't explain what I actually do with each piece inside of my template. So in front of you, you can see I have the same template from the my template video, or create a custom template video. If you haven't seen that video, go ahead and click in the cards right above here and you can go watch the video, so that way you're up to date on what it is that we were doing. Now, I want you to be, I want to be very clear that I don't use every single thing that's inside of this template every time that I come to make music. When I'm inspired, there's a certain thing that I want to go for, so sometimes it may not even be inside of this template. But what I have found over the years of me using Reason and making music with it, there's a handful of devices that I always go to, more often than not, or I should say, and that's what I have here. So the master section, I'll start off there because it's at the top and there's very little to really talk about it. But the master section, it comes with two reverbs. This is just the default master section that comes with the Reason rack when you open one up. So there you have all the, and these are the devices that are actually connected to your mixer. So if you had a submix and you wanted to run it through a device, these are the devices right here that are connected up here, where you have the plate, the room, the echo, and the delay. So nothing significant about that for the most part. Now, moving away from the master section, we get into the very first thing. I am a melodic person. I like to start off with keys, so it just makes sense to have a to have a scales and chords, and then the radical piano. So for those of you who are new to the Reason ecosystem, scales and chords is a MIDI effect. It goes in between your MIDI controller and the device that's inside of the virtual rack. That's what happens. So when you push a key on your MIDI controller, it will trigger something here, and then it'll send that information to your device. So scales and chords, I have this one set to F minor. So as soon as I push a key on my MIDI controller, you can see that it triggers F minor. Now, I'm just gonna push randomly over the keyboard, and as you can see, it's just jumping to the correct chord that would be played. Now, these are playing triads with a octave in the bass, and I'll explain that here in a second. But if I just wanted to get a quick idea down, the scales and chords really helps out with that, because you can change the scales from minor to Lydian, and if you just want to get something different, or I mean, you can go like super off the chart, you know, and play something else. But I stay usually in the minor or the major keys. Now, the way that scales and chords works is you choose the scale, or I'm sorry, the key that you want to play in. And if you don't know, just choose one. It doesn't matter. That's the beauty about Reason. You don't have to be the greatest musician to get your ideas out. If you have a rhythm in your head, just choose one and choose major or minor. It's usually going to be somewhere in there, and then you just play a rhythm. Now, moving to the right, you have the filter notes. If I want to, when I press a key on the keyboard, doesn't matter which key I push, I can push anywhere on the MIDI keyboard, right? It's going to, as you can see, I'm pressing down on the A key here, and it's showing you that I'm pushing the A key. If you come right here, but I'm not. That's not actually inside of the scale, because the scale are these keys that are lit up, not lighted up, lit up. And yes, you can click and create your own custom scale if you really want to. But when I press the A key, it moves me to A flat, which is just before that. And A flat is in the F minor scale. Okay, so that's the actual chord. It plays that for me. But if I want to filter the notes, instead of playing, whenever I press the A, which I'm pressing right now, you see the hand is telling me, nope, it's not playing anything. You really need to be playing A flat, and then I can move up to B, and it's like, no, you need to be playing B flat, and I can move to another one. So I'll play D, and I'm sorry, E, not D. I'll play E, and it's telling me that I need to be on E flat, and when I press E flat on the actual MIDI keyboard, it plays the sound. So it filters the notes, and this is really good if you're playing live and you don't want to mess up. I highly recommend turning this one on if you're fairly good at hitting the keys that you're supposed to be playing. And this is one of those ways that digital musicians, we can fake it until we actually make it and we get it, because technology is helping us play the right keys. The other thing that I do is I usually leave filter notes turned off, because if I push a key, I do want to play something, and it will correct it. It's pretty intelligent in the way that it does. Now, the next portion to this, right, that's more the scales piece. That's why it has this blue box. And then you have the chords piece. When you click on the chords here, you can turn this piece off, and whenever I play, it's going to correct it to the key that's inside of the scale, or the note that's actually inside of the scale. But when I turn this on, I get some options here. The first one is the number of notes. So you can play just a single note, which it's playing octaves because I have the octave down, so I'm going to turn that off. But right now it's just playing one note, not anything, not a chord or anything of the sort. Then I can go up to 2, and it will play usually a fifth from, if you're into music theory, it'll play a fifth off of whatever the root note that you're playing. That's still within this scale over here. I'm going to change this back to minor. That's still within this scale over here. But the most common chord that's played is a triad, and that's 3 notes. That's the root, the third, and a fifth. And then you can get up to a 7th note. So you get the root, the third, the fifth, and then the 7th. These are more jazzy. And then you can get inversions of those. So if you want to start from, instead of the root note, you want to start from something that's not the root note. You want to start from the third. Or if you want to start from the 5th. Or if you want to start from the 7th, in this case. You get those inversions, right? I like the open chords. This just spreads the chords out, gives it a little bit more of a, instead of the closed grouping, you get the more open sound across the keyboard, and it sounds a little bit more musical, right? It allows for the instrument to breathe. But in some situations, open chords doesn't work that well. With the piano, I've found that open chords work really well. Now, over here, you can add in a particular note. Now, you get an option to add in 3 different notes, but I'm going to go through each one of these on their own. So you can go an octave up. An octave just means 8 steps up. Yes, that's not the correct musical term. It's really 12 semitones, but uh, you can go to, so if I'm playing F here, it'll go to the F in the next octave up, which that's what it typically does. So I play the F here, and you can see that the F above the root F that I played is actually being triggered as well. And to make that a little bit more apparent, I'm going to come down here to one note, and you can see that I am playing an octave F. Now when I turn this off and I press F, it's only playing the 1. But when I turn this on, it's playing the 2. Now I'm going to move to a different octave on the keyboard to show you that when I play the F with an octave down, I get the octave note a little bit further down, and I also get the octave up. I personally like to get a little bit more deeper sounds in my music, which is why I leave the octave down on and open chords. And I usually leave this to triad. So when I play that F, I'm also getting some sort of a bass note. Because for me, I like the deeper sounds in music, and it's a driving factor for my music. Then we have what's known as color. And this just adds in an additional note, which is the 9th. For this one, let's see, when you go to playing 7th chords, it adds in the 11th. So it jumps by 4 semitones from whatever you have the note set for. And then the alter one, I don't use this often. Honestly, I don't think I've used it ever. But what I would like to do at some point is figure out how to map that to a pad so it will play a particular note specific to what I want. So when I click here, I'm not I'll be real with you guys. I'm not completely sure on the math or the musical annotations to that. Now, the cool thing about Reason in general is that it comes with a lot of presets. So you can click in here and you can choose EDM chords, and you can do all kinds of stuff. And they have some really good presets. The power chords, music for musicians. If you want to get way more technical into the musical elements that are available. But that Scales and Chords, super easy tool to use once you start using it. I probably spent way more time explaining it than you will ever use it. Now you can toggle it on and off, and when you toggle it off, then you just get a piano by itself. So I personally leave that one on, and I would probably go, I'll just put it on EDM for now. All right, moving down a little bit, we have the Radical Piano. Now, this is something that I've been using for a long time. Radical Piano, I think it is beautiful. I use this in my church sets when I used to play at church. I use this just when I want to sit back and play, and I really enjoy the default one. What I typically do with the default one is I will change the microphone blend just a little bit, and that's just a personal preference. I like a little bit more of the jazz mics than the close mics. That's a personal preference how I like this. And you can change a little bit of the ambience and go into a hall maybe. It just opens up. Like I said, I like my chords open, and I like the open sound to the piano. So The best way to learn how to use Radical Piano is to just click in the knobs, right? Click all over this thing, figure out which ones work the best for you, because it's similar to a VST, but it has more of a tune string approach where you want to make sure that you're paying attention to your velocity. The tune, I never really mess with this, but I'm sure there's a situation where you might find you need to tune this, especially if you're using a lot of synthesizers. Maybe you need to tune this to get a little bit more character out of the piano. I don't know. But then you also have your resonance, your envelope, mechanics. If you want to EQ it, I usually don't EQ it here. Because when my approach to music is I use the EQ that's inside of the channel mixer, and I will cut and boost and shelf whatever frequencies I feel need to be based off of the overall mix. But for the sake of just getting in and making music, there's not much that you have to do with Radical Piano's Propeller Head or Reason Studios now. They have done a phenomenal job at developing this particular module, so I have no complaints with that. Moving into one of the newer devices that's in Reason now is Grain. Now, I don't know a whole lot about Grain, but what I do know is whenever I need a pad sound, this device helps so much, and I'm still exploring with this device, so I'm not 100% sure all of its capabilities. I do know that I can click on this right here, and as you can see, I'm already in the pads, and we'll just click on one of these bad boys. And let's see what comes up. Oh, I gotta select it. There we go. So it's a long hold pad. I would normally put a chords and scales on this, but if I wanted to create an atmosphere for me to work in, I have found that by going to these pad sections, and I'm not the greatest at synthesizing, but I have found a lot of presets here and then tweaking them just a little bit by changing the speed or maybe a little bit of the jitter. Even the way that it plays back forward, one shot, you can send it through to the envelope 1, which is down here. You can send to the envelopes and really change the way that this plays back. But I usually go with forward loop, and then you can even change where your loop markers are here inside of the waveform. If you want to chop the loop, you can chop it, zoom in on it a little bit more. So if I only want that piece of it, now it's only playing back that piece, but it's looping, and it's going, and it's gone. I don't know. This isn't a very good example. It's a very low bass sound type loop. And then, of course, you can record directly into it by sampling. I'm not going to do that now. And then you can edit the sample that's already in there. So this is the sample. But if I'm like, I don't like the way that this is developing, I'm not going to zoom in. What I'm going to do is I will chop it there, and I'll chop it here, and then you just hit save. Should have changed this. But again, there's a lot to learn about Grain, and in the future I'll bring some videos to you guys about it, but I just don't know a whole lot. What I have found is I use a lot of the presets, and the presets work very, very well for me in most cases. Then the last thing that I have on this side is the Humana. Now, I used to do a lot of work with film, and just having a choir available made it that much easier for me when I sat down and it's like, okay, I want to build some tension in this particular scene. So I would go and I would run Humana. And this is, I mean, it's not the greatest choir set. It's definitely a sample choir. But I'll go to one of the presets here just so you can get the idea. So, what just happened? I see what happened. It was not on the Humana player. Where is the Humana? I was using some Rex loops the last time. And that's odd. Sure, it's in here. Well, I'll have to find those. But there are definitely some really, really good perks to using Humana. And I wish that this were not where it is right now. But I can't really go into full detail about this because it is a device that's been out for quite some time now. I just haven't explored it too much, other than laying down some really straightforward long oohs and ahs, and you can change so much with this. You can go from I usually go with a male bass voice for an ah sound. And then I'll throw some reverb on that, EQ it, all kinds of stuff. And you can see I'll throw some reverb on it here. And then distort it. You wouldn't even really tell that it is a choir's voice. And then the last thing that I have in the rack is the Kong Drum Designer. I think a lot of people already know what this one is. It's been around in Reason since I believe Reason 6. So I'm not going to go over it in detail, but what we used to do with the Kong Drum Designer is we would map each one of these to the 14.2, which was a great method, or at least that's what I did because I wanted to mix my drums individually. Now I do the same thing except for I put them to a mix channel. This allows me to trigger, and I label the mix channels with the three things that I usually always start with, just some a basic backbeat, kick, snare, and hats. Then when I come over here to the mixer, they're already in their color coded, and then they have a sub mix channel right here for all of my Kong drums. But if I want to mix each one of those channels separately, I have the option to do it right here. And I can throw more in there because I don't believe I mapped out the entire Kong. Nah, I didn't. You get 16 channels there. What I will say is it's a little bit of a trick to get the individual channels to actually trigger into each one of these sections. So I'll show you that real quick. You'll hit this drop down, and each one of these goes to a stereo syn. So we'll start here. As you can see, the main output left and right, that's output 1 and 2, or left and right, which is down underneath all of these wires. Let me see if I can't get those to go away. But under all of these wires, you have your left and right, that's output in and out 1 and 2. And then you got 3 and 4, 5 and 6, 7 and 8, 9 and 10, 11 and 12. That's significant because once you plug each one of those in, you're going to have to come to this drop down and choose 3 to 4, 5 to 6, 7 to 8. And when you do that, you'll put one, and understand these are all mono signals, which means it's not a stereo feed. Most of these one-shot instruments like drums and snares, they're recorded with a single microphone, so it's a mono instrument. It's intended to be a mono capture. Case in point, if you are using the Kong Drum Designer and you want to map those into a mix channel, you're going to have to click on each one of the drums, and then, like right now, these are the drum output is to the master effects for 5 and 6. But what it should be on is output 5 and 6 there, and then you got to come back over here, put this on output 5 and 6, and that maps it to each one of these channels. So then I can come in and get my levels. I can use the EQ, everything that you would be able to do on a normal mixer channel, you have the ability to do for each one of your drums, or samples, or I guess they're all samples, but your loops, your chops, whatever, you can do all of that right here with the Kong Drum Designer and edit it as audio before you get to your final stem mix down. So it all really, you get to build your sound. You get to build your build everything that you want to make. So that is everything in a nutshell. I explained the template. I didn't use everything in action. Those videos will come a little bit later. I just kind of wanted to explain why I put the things inside of my template, so it'll help jog your memory, jog your mind of the things that you go to the most, so you can put your templates together. More often than not, I usually start with my drums because I just enjoy doing drums. I put those in first. I get a nice little backbeat going, with the understanding that I'm probably going to change the drum pattern that I put together, but I'll put that in first, and then I'll jump straight into building my chord progression. And then from there, I have the foundation of the direction, the vibe, the mood that I want to set, and then we'll see what goes from there. I try not to limit myself to what I hear on the radio or what I hear in other people's films or what other people have done, but instead bring some of the stuff that people are doing in my own personal direction. And I think that is extremely important in today's music. So, if you're using Reason, share some of your music with me. I love hearing other people's music, and I enjoy, giving feedback and receiving feedback. But that being said, if you're using Reason 10, if you're using Reason 10, go ahead and drop a comment down in the section about what devices you put inside of your rack. I really want to know what you guys are using out there. If you have questions about anything that I went over inside of the Reason rack, please let me know. I want to help out as much as I can. And go ahead and give this video a like if you found it somewhat helpful, informative. I'm trying to produce content that is value added, not just a dude throwing stuff out there into the community. So if you found some value to this, please hit the like button, and I'll continue producing content. If there's something specific that you want to see, like this video was requested, then please leave that in the comment section below, and I'll do what I can. And if you really, really, really enjoy this channel, or you just want to see what's coming next, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and smash the bell so you can be notified. And eventually I will upgrade to Reason 11. I haven't done it yet because my full-time job, for those of you who have been on the channel for a minute, I'm in the military, and my full-time job has just been consuming a lot of my time. So I haven't done as much music work as I have done in the past. So with that being said, I don't have a need to update to Reason 11 right now because I'm just not doing anything. So it'd be an investment to kind of not really use. So when I get a little bit more time to do music, which will hopefully happen in the near future, right now I'm just sticking to the technical side, then I will update to Reason 11. But until then, I think Reason 10 is going to serve quite well. It has all the features that are necessary to produce music, and really good music. So let me know what you guys are using. If you updated to Reason 11, drop some comments about it, and let me know what you're thinking. All right. Well, thanks for sticking around, and I'm out.